Hey, this is Off the Cuff, and I'm Steve from TorahFamily.org. Today I want to give you some concerns of mine that I see possibly playing out in the end times, whenever that may be. Now, you don't have to agree with my thoughts, obviously, but I do ask that you please consider them. Now, let's start off with reading a verse. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 13 through 15. For such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, masquerading as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising, then, if his servants masquerade as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve. So here we see that Satan has been masquerading as an angel of light, and his servants as servants of righteousness. Yeshua himself said that there would be a powerful deception in the end times. Matthew 24, verse 24. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. Please think about this statement. This must truly be a powerful deception that is coming someday. Before we get too much further here, I want to read some verses from Deuteronomy chapter 13, starting in verse 1. If a prophet, or one who foretells by dreams, appears among you and announces to you a miraculous sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder of which he has spoken takes place, and he says, let us follow other gods you have not known, and let us worship them. You must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. Yahweh your God is testing you to find out whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. Please keep this verse in the back of your mind. Now I want to read a verse for us that I believe has been misunderstood by all of us at one point or another. Because of these misunderstandings, I believe that many will not only be confused when the end times begin, but they may very well actually end up following the anti-Messiah. Even though they will think they're not, they will actually be following the anti-Messiah. All because of this one verse. Because of this one verse, many today are waiting for a 7-year peace treaty to be made. Because of this one verse, many today are waiting for a temple to be made. Because of this one verse, many today are waiting for sacrifices to start up again. Because of this one verse, many today are waiting for those sacrifices to be abolished by the anti-Messiah. What verse is it? Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. It reads, He will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. And on a wing of the temple, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation until the end that is declared is poured out on him. You see, many believe the covenant spoken here is a peace treaty. They believe it will be for 7 years because of the 7. Then they believe the anti-Messiah will stop all sacrifices at the temple, which will have been already established. However, what if that mentality is not only wrong, but actually what the enemy wants us to believe? I have been saying for years that the covenant spoken of here is just that, a covenant. The new covenant, to be exact. That which Yeshua establishes at Mount Sinai with his bride. Please see our teaching, Armageddon and the Parousia, for more on that. Now, that means that the he being spoken of here in verse 27 is referring to Yeshua and not the Antichrist. This lines up with what we see in verse 25. It says, Know and understand this, from the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the Anointed One, the ruler, comes, there will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. It will be rebuilt with streets and a trench, but in times of trouble. The word for sevens here is shavuim, the male plural of shavua, shavuot. So, according to this verse, 69 Shavuots, shall pass. Thus, it would seem verse 27 is discussing the anointed ruler who is to come and not the anti-Messiah. And it's discussing the 70th Shavuot that is discussed in verse 24. The next part of verse 27 says, "In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering." This is where many believe the anti-Messiah will put an end to the sacrificial system. However, I believe it's quite the opposite. If you have seen my teachings titled, "The Tent and the Image of the Beast," you will know that it is very possible the anti-Messiah will himself set up the original tent of meeting and the Ark of the Covenant and use them for his purposes. In fact, that will be the deception. It's in this where the false prophet and anti-Messiah sets up the sacrificial system. So they don't stop it. They could very well be the ones who starts it. At the very least, they keep it going. But what do we do with this verse that says he will put an end to sacrifice and offering? As mentioned, this individual is Yeshua, the anointed ruler who is to come. He will be the one which makes the false sacrificial system, which is established by the false prophet and anti-Messiah, come to an end. So, when does Yeshua do this? He ends the false sacrificial system immediately following him saving Judah after the Battle of Armageddon. He first saves Judah after Armageddon, and then he saves Jerusalem. He ends the false sacrificial system when he saves Jerusalem. If it sounds foreign to you that Yeshua saves Judah before Jerusalem, just bear with me because we're going to get to that verse. That specifically says that in just a few moments. But again, if you have not seen our teaching, Armageddon and the Parousia, it will truly help in this understanding. Regarding him saving the people of Judah before Jerusalem, consider. We know that Yeshua tells the people of Judah to flee when they see the abomination that causes desolation. Where do they flee to? I believe they go to Basra, the capital of Edom, found in today's modern-day Jordan. But why Basra and Edom? First, we see here in Daniel that Edom escapes the control of the anti-Messiah. Consider also where he is coming from when he enters to save Jerusalem. Isaiah 63, verse 1. Who is this coming from Edom, from Basra, with his garments stained crimson? Who is this robed in splendor, striding forward in the greatness of his strength? It is I speaking in righteousness, mighty to save. Where did he come from? Basra. Consider also the wordplay found in Micah chapter 2. I will surely gather all of you, O Jacob. I will surely bring together the remnant of Israel. I will bring them together like sheep in a pen. Batra in Hebrew. Like a flock in its pasture, the place will throng with people. The Hebrew actually implies they will be noisy people. To me, implying they are rejoicing like something crazy. I just love that. So, while Yeshua is with his bride at Mount Sinai, Judah will be protected in Edom, specifically Basra. I currently see the woman who flees in Revelation chapter 12 as Judah. I believe this is very possible. I believe quite possibly Jeremiah discusses this event even. Jeremiah 49, verse 22. Look, an eagle will soar and swoop down, spreading its wings over Basra. In that day, the hearts of Edom's warriors will be like the heart of a woman in labor. If it wasn't for Judah, where would the Torah be today? Yes, they have added much. Yet, as a whole, it has been Judah who protected the Torah through the generations. All the while, Ephraim has completely neglected it altogether. Thus, Judah could be considered the woman who has given birth to the true nation that will be unified under Yeshua. This can be controversial for some, and I understand that. We can look more into it another time. Consider the following verses in the train of thought about Judah being saved before Jerusalem. Jeremiah 23, verse 6. In his days, Judah will be saved, and Israel will live in safety. This is the name by which he will be called, Yahweh our righteousness. Now, 33:16. In those days, Judah will be saved, and Jerusalem will live in safety. This is the name by which it will be called, Yahweh our righteousness. These two verses appear to be the same, but separates Judah from Jerusalem. Zechariah gives us the order in how this happens. Zechariah chapter 12, verse 7. Yahweh will save the dwellings of Judah first, so that the honor of the house of David and of Jerusalem's inhabitants may not be greater than that of Judah. There it is. Judah is indeed saved before Jerusalem, but on the same day. I see these people in Judah possibly as those who are faithful to Torah, but have not yet accepted Yeshua. I believe this is why we read just 3 verses later. And I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication. They will look on me, the one they have pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for a firstborn son. I'm not 100% solid on this, but I am leaning that way. Time will tell, right? So, the last place that Yeshua is before he enters and saves Jerusalem is actually where Judah is, that being Basra. Now, this is on his warpath, if you will, that actually started at Mount Sinai with the Battle of Harmoged, that being Armageddon. Now, let's consider the possible path that Yeshua makes on the Armageddon battle campaign. First, he is with his bride at Mount Sinai, Harmoged, Armageddon. As mentioned in our King of the North teaching, the anti-Messiah will be reigning with Jerusalem while Yeshua is with his bride at Mount Sinai. The anti-Messiah goes and surrounds them. Yeshua breaks his year with his bride, per Deuteronomy 24:5. He takes the 144,000 and defeats the anti-Messiah and his army. Yeshua then takes the 144,000 and goes straight north to save Judah at Basra. After this, he then continues straight north to save Jerusalem. Now the question could be asked, why doesn't he head to the west side of the Dead Sea? I have been told that much of this area is actually impassable on horseback because of the mountainous terrain. However, if he continues straight north to the top of the Dead Sea, what would he do next? He would head straight west, making him come from the east. The first thing he does is touch the Mount of Olives. The mountain splits, and he then continues straight into Jerusalem. It is at this time Yeshua stops the unholy sacrificial system and begins to establish his reign in Jerusalem. But again, it's here where Yeshua stops the daily sacrificial system, as we see in Daniel 9:27. It's not until the latter part of verse 27 that we actually see the anti-Messiah referred to. Yet, in several versions, it makes it seem like it's all speaking of the same guy. However, even the interpreters of the NIV give this part of the verse another interpretation in their footnotes that better matches the Hebrew text. It reads, "And one who causes desolation will come upon the pinnacle of the abominable temple, until the end that is decreed is poured out on the desolated city." It implies it is another that comes, thus the anti-Messiah. Other versions also give definition and distinction between the anointed ruler and the one who sets up the abomination as well. The ESV, the NASB, the New King James, and the ASV. In all of this, I think I lean to the Scriptures version the most. It seems to carry a flow with what Yeshua actually does to the end. It reads, "And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he shall put an end to slaughtering and meal offering. And on the wing of abominations he shall lay waste, even until the complete end, and that which is decreed is poured out on the one who lays waste." It seems to me that verse 27 truly has two different individuals mentioned within it, unlike how it has been taught for so long as just one person, that being the anti-Messiah. We need to be careful and not confuse the verse. A large amount of believers today are looking for certain things to take place. But the problem is, they may find themselves looking to the anti-Messiah instead. What if everything gets set up under the tent of meeting and the Ark of the Covenant is set up again? Then what if, instead of things being torn down, things are actually established under someone who claims to be the Messiah? While so many are told the anti-Messiah will tear it all down, will they believe the lie because things are not truly playing out as they thought, as they've been told, or even as they have read? Remember, Yeshua told us not to be deceived. Deception comes from looking like the original. Okay, it's the imposter, that deceives. It's not the bold lie. I hope that makes sense. I've heard someone recently say that, the anti-Messiah is going to set himself up in another temple claiming to be a different God. And that's, folks, there's no deception in that, okay? It's all about deceiving Yahweh's people, in my opinion. I see this deception is all about deceiving Yahweh's people, okay? He's already got the world, okay? He doesn't need to deceive them. He's already got them. It's all about deceiving Yahweh's people, okay? So, to me, the deception is going to be looking like the original, looking like it's the real deal. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. "For such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, masquerading as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants masquerade as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve." I'm concerned that the end times may truly be the ultimate Deuteronomy 13 test. Please take some time and open up your Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 13, and dwell on those opening verses, okay? Look at it. Look at them all and see how they really can match up with the false prophet and the anti-Messiah. It's the ultimate in Deuteronomy 13 to me. Don't be deceived in Satan's greatest masquerade. Well, that's all I have. Think about it. Pray about it. But more than anything, be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. Until next time, Shalom.